Wipro has just declared numbers. The consolidated PAT is looking slightly lower than estimates, about 50 crores lower. It's not slightly, it's about 2% lower. So that's a decent number. But, for a company like Wipro, you would always look at the revenues more than anything else. So we'll just wait for the revenue. Okay, that's the PAT, 920 crores versus the poll of around 962. I'm just opening this release, trying to find what's the dollar revenue. So, okay, they have not given the detailed release at this point of time, so we don't have the dollar revenue number. I can look at the standalone numbers in terms of revenue. So the revenue is 11,567. That's the revenue number when we talk about the numbers. We'll just put that across as well. And IT service EBIT is close to around 2,422. That's the IT EBIT that is there. Overall, the numbers are looking decent. We'll just wait and watch, for the commentary to come in and what essentially happens on the IT. So, okay, that's the IT EBIT for you. IT EBIT is 2,397 crores. The margins of IT business have come in at 17.5. The estimates were close to 16%. And I think the IT revenues are looking in good. The IT numbers itself are looking in decent at this point of time. Okay, Apurva Prasad is now with us. Apurva, IT services revenue at 17.5, 16 is what the street was estimating. First reaction on that?
Yes, I think margins look stronger than we were expecting. Flattish type of performance. So it looks like a beat on the margins for sure.
Right. The IT services revenues have come in at 13,700 crores. What is your number? What were you going in with?
Yes, so we were slightly lower at about 13,500.
13,500. So that's a decent 4% beat for 3% beat for the company.
Right.
After how long would you have seen such a big beat on the company?
I think it's after many quarters now, but I think we need to understand what's the guidance they're giving, I think, for next quarter. So you have to also take into the fact that they've been sort of the mid to lower side of their guided range earlier. This looks like a beat, but I'm not sure I've got the next quarter guidance number yet.
So just waiting for that. I'm just trying to open that press release, which will give us all those details. But in the meanwhile, say if these numbers don't have a one-off, do you expect that the guidance could also be better than estimate?
Well, we'll have to see, wait and not really speculate into that. But and what are the metrics that are really pulling these numbers? So there's obviously issues around the HPS business, the healthcare part of the business, and the communication vertical. So we'd like to see whether those headwinds are sort of behind.
Right. So, we'll just wait and watch for that. But in the meanwhile, on the first take, do you believe that there could be at least upgrades in the EPS?
No, so we'll wait till all the numbers are seen.
Right, Apurva. Apurva, we'll touch base again with you for the numbers, but we'll just can you tell us what's happening with Mindtree and some of the others as well? How do you make of the entire IT numbers so far, except HCL? Most of the major companies have declared numbers.
That's correct. So yeah, I think TCS posted very strong set of numbers. Mindtree also, there has been a good beat in the top line, the revenue side, while margins were slightly lower. Infosys has been more or less in line, with respect to estimates. So yes, there is a broader strong momentum which is playing out in the sector. You're looking at a scenario which is a strong seasonality for IT companies that's playing out. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I think there are some more larger mid-cap companies which should be reporting numbers in the next few days. And we're expecting them to post, stronger set of numbers.
Right. Pankaj Sharma is also now joining us. Pankaj, what's your first reaction on Wipro numbers? Margins seem to be a beat. IT services revenue are slightly higher. The guidance and matrix is still awaited though.
Yeah, I think so far whatever we have got, this is either in line or better than expectations. So no red flags as far as whatever we see as of now. Of course, there are a couple of things which need to be seen and more details are awaited. But whatever we have information on, it's largely a decent number.
Hi Pankaj, this is Nayantara joining in from the New Delhi studio. Yes, we're talking about the Wipro numbers, but can you also tell me, if you were to juxtapose this, let's say with what TCS and Infosys have announced, what do you make of the numbers?
It was interesting because when TCS reported last week, I think it was definitely a very, very good beginning for IT results, and results were definitely much, much ahead of expectations. Infosys, definitely in comparison of TCS, didn't look that great, but in isolation on a standalone basis, numbers were not bad. So overall, when you see some of the large caps either reporting beat or inline numbers, it gives you more confidence about how the numbers would play out over the next 6 to 12 months in comparison of how the situation has been over the last couple of years. So, of course, there is not much reason to complain after seeing some of these large caps reporting a decent set of numbers. So I believe that, of course, TCS was still an outlier in terms of how big and strong the beat was. But otherwise also, even from other companies, the numbers are not really bad.
I'm going to ask you to hang in there. I'm going to go across to my in-house expert and research analyst, Pranay Jain. He's got more details in the fine print of the Wipro numbers. Hi, Pranay.
Awaiting the press release which will have the dollar number when it comes to the IT services revenue and the guidance for Q2. But what we have is right now the revenue for IT services, which is coming at 13,700 crore rupees. Now that is up a little over 2% on a sequential basis, in line with our expectations. If you look at the operating performance, that is actually a mild surprise. Analysts were expecting that because of one-offs, we will see that margins will mostly be flat, while we had penciled in 120 basis point improvement because of the absence of one-off hits that the company had taken last quarter. The reported numbers managed to show a beat against that. So therefore, the EBIT margin is now 17.5%. compared to 14.4%. That's a 310 basis improvement. If you were to adjust for whatever they did last quarter, then it's an improvement of 150 basis point in both cases, above expectations on operating lines. If you consolidate the numbers, then the revenue is actually in line, including the products business, and the profit is mildly higher, showing a growth of more than 10% on a sequential basis. If I just look at some internals that I have right now, it's BFSI actually, which has managed to grow about 6% on a sequential basis. This is in rupee terms. I'm not talking in dollar terms because, like I said, that press release is still awaited. But 5 to 6% is good. It is similar to what TCS had done in constant currency terms. But if I look at other verticals, there isn't any positive traction more than 2 to 3%. So it looks rather subdued at all other levels, whether it is healthcare because there is some weakness which has continued from Q4. Energy and utilities has seen just a mild 2 to 3% improvement. High tech also is up barely 2%. So it's subdued except for BFSI, which is done relatively better at 5 to 6% growth. We still await the guidance. Just one thing I wanted to mention about that, the street is expecting at least 1 to 3% growth from Q2. Given the soft start on revenue front, they're expecting that from this base, the improvement should happen faster after a seasonally weak quarter. If it is anything less than that, then it will be a dampener.
Just if you could emphasize on the BFSI space once again, that was one of the key reasons why you saw upgrades on TCS?
Well, TCS from a very high base has grown very healthy in mid single digits, and therefore it saw upgrades because of the order wins and the execution that it is seeing. Also, the management expects margin to be maintained within the guided band, which is much higher than Infosys and Wipro. So therefore, on that high trajectory and return ratios, it saw upgrades in terms of EPS estimates for this year. Not really much change for next year. For Wipro, we'll still have to wait for more details. But when you asked about BFSI, just want to mention that in rupee terms, it has grown approximately 6% on a sequential basis. In constant currency, we'll wait what the number is exactly. But compared to other verticals, BFSI, it has managed to do better. And that's what the management indicated, that the tone is positive, and we are seeing reflection of that in numbers.
Apurva, what would you make of this? BFSI growing 6% on a quarter-on-quarter basis in rupee terms. Of course, there will be a dollar impact on this, but overall, it's a decent matrix to go with, considering that's also been strong for TCS.
Fact that if you see, despite Wipro's underperformance in the recent quarters, the BFSI has been doing relatively well. One of the prime reasons has been the share of digital within that segment is much higher. So while TCS's recovery in BFSI is a recent phenomenon and Infosys has called that out in a recovery from next quarter, Wipro for its BFSI vertical has been relatively doing well. So I think that sort of continues.
You were awaiting the guidance. Now that we have given you the sales numbers, what is the guidance that you would expect from Wipro? What will be a good guidance number?
Yes, I think anything above 2% or on a median band should be good. So we were expecting earlier, before the results, we were expecting a guide about 0 to 2%. So I think anything at a median band above 2% should be decent guidance.
Apurva, I was asking Pankaj this very question as well. Yes, we're talking about Wipro, but do you want to juxtapose it and compare it with, let's say, the other IT companies that have come out, whether it's a TCS or Infi, which are bigger, or a Mindtree, which is smaller?
Yes, so look, there is a very clear, broad growth momentum, acceleration, call it what you may, that we have been seeing the last couple of quarters, So while it's very evident in TCS, I think it's a lot more evident in many of the mid-cap companies, even if you look at the last couple of quarters. And I think that's likely to follow, as I said earlier. So I think you'd have probably many of the mid-cap companies which will be surprising positively. So I think that is something which is going to happen. The fact that BFSI has turned for some of the larger companies, that again augurs very well for the sector.